In the game Titanfall, an ability you can use is called the nuclear ejection. Basically, you eject and your Titan's nuclear reactor detonates, killing all nearby enemies. But could the pilot of a Titan actually survive a Titan nuclear ejection? Nerd punch. So, to eject, the pilot clicks 3 buttons and then yanks a lever. Then, the nuclear reactor overloads and detonates a few seconds later, allowing the pilot to destroy all the surrounding enemy troops while fleeing to safety. That all sounds well and dandy, except the pilots are ejecting to ensure their survival. Right. I'm not sure if it would help the pilot if 3 seconds after he ejected from the Titan, he was vaporized in a nuclear blast. To get it out of the way, I'm aware that there's a difference between a nuclear reactor and a nuclear bomb exploding. In a nuclear weapon, all the fission takes place in the blink of an eye, a few microseconds. In that time, we get all the energy and all the fission products that are going to be produced. This is one of the differences between nuclear weapons and nuclear reactors. Nuclear reactors can build up fission fragments over a much longer period of time, so they will have more radioactivity in the core than a nuclear weapon will produce. So basically, the bomb has a bigger explosion but less radioactivity, and vice versa for the reactor. For the sake of this video and from what it looks like in the game, let's just say that they have some sort of combination of both for best effect. Now, I get that in the game, the pilot is ejected up and away from the blast. Now, I haven't run the numbers, but from the videos I've seen, nuclear blasts shoot upwards too, and gravity would be gently carrying the parachuting pilot back to where he ejected, which would at the time be a swirling fireball, not to mention the extreme levels of radiation if he did somehow survive the actual blast. Let's take a look. Even the smallest nuclear bomb, called the Davy Crockett, was fatal to within a quarter mile of detonation. Considering the Titans are packing not only a nuclear reactor, but also a small nuke to help kickstart the destruction from the reactor, the pilot's chance of surviving is looking pretty slim, but there may be a solution. So the Davy Crockett nuke is lethal to within a quarter mile of detonation, so he'd have to eject at least that high. Most ejection seats in fighter jets will eject the pilot maybe 100 or so feet up, which would not be good enough. They'd basically have to strap a missile to the ejection seat in order to get him up high enough and then take him horizontally away so he didn't fall back into the mini-sun radioactive death storm swirling beneath him. It'd also be good to increase the delay of the nuclear core explosion so the pilot could get far enough away before being vaporized. So yeah, you know that the guy who developed the nuclear ejection was obviously never going to actually be in one of these Titans or be in a situation where he had to use a nuclear ejection. It's absurdly unsafe. It seems like the government hired the idea guy and not the science guy for the Titan nuclear ejection program. And did they really make it that easy to overload a nuclear reactor anyways? In militaries, it takes the approval of command, some launch codes, and 2 people turning a key to initiate a nuke launch, which, now that I think about it, seems a bit too easy. But in the game, this guy hits like 3 buttons and then pulls a lever, which is completely in accident territory. I mean, at least put it behind some glass you have to break first, you know, like they have for fire extinguishers. And what about collateral damage? I really hope there's a way to choose whether or not to nuclear eject, which already adds complexity to an insanely dangerous task you have to perform within 2 seconds under extreme stress. Hit the wrong button and you level a populated city block, killed your platoon, and decimated all indigenous life, and basically X'd that square miles off of the Earth's vacation list for centuries to come because of radioactivity. Actually, I'm pretty sure it is the same process for normal ejection as it is for nuclear ejection in the game. Maybe he just hits a few different buttons than normal before pulling the lever. Absolutely nothing that could go wrong with that. Wait, what does the Geneva Convention say about all this? Are you still covered under it? I mean, you ejected, so you're no longer an enemy combatant, even though 3 seconds ago you nuked a city block of people. Based on history, these pilots wouldn't stand a chance. Rules of war is a ridiculous concept to begin with, and betting your life on it is even more ridiculous. While every nation that has ever fought in a major war has broken these rules to some extent, an obvious example would be the German High Command in World War II ordering special forces, snipers, spies, and anyone deemed to be ideologically driven to be executed after interrogation. Okay, so they ordered a sniper to be executed if caught. How do you think that they would feel about someone that piloted a giant robotic mech warrior that blasted, stomped, and crushed their friends and cities to death, and then just when you were about to be defeated, you hit the Staples Easy button, which took you on a first-class missile ride back to base while simultaneously turning their homeland into a nuclear radioactive wasteland for the next couple hundred years. Yeah, you better either die in that nuclear blast, or that missile ejection seat better be an ICBM that takes you all the way back home, because the enemy is not going to be too happy about you nuking them.
And are we also going to ignore that the Titans have personalities and bonds with the pilots too? And triggering the self-destruct mode before ejecting out of the battlefield while leaving your Titan good and fucked is probably not cool. I'm sure they don't appreciate that. Given that the missile ejection seat, aka the yeet seat, is implemented, I'd say that the nuclear ejection is survivable. At least until the enemy found you and then put a bullet in the back of your head. Even if it's not survivable, I still think it's a valid tactic. If you are 100% doomed and behind enemy lines, you might as well just light up a cigar, take a puff or two while initiating the nuclear reactor bomb countdown, and take some of these enemies down with you. Honestly, I think we should go ahead and integrate tactical nukes into our tanks, helicopters, and jets too. I mean, the Predator aliens have nuclear bombs attached to each of their soldiers' arms, which seems to be an effective last resort to ensure your enemy does not get the last laugh. Think about trying to fight an enemy military where if you did destroy one of their tank battalions, it doesn't matter because they end up nuking you anyways. I mean, you pretty much can't win any battle. It's kind of like Russia's scorched earth policy in World War II taken to the extreme. And also, nobody would be able to steal your technology or study it since it would be vaporized along with all of those nearby soldiers in the nuclear blast. I'm starting to like this Titanfall nuclear program after all. So, bottom line, I think there's a couple ways we can improve the Titanfall's nuclear ejection program, mainly by putting a missile underneath the ejection seat to take you back home, and also including a little bit of a delay to give you some time to get out of the blast zone. Even if you can't do that, I still think it's a valid tactic to nuke everyone around you, so if you lose, everybody loses. I think that's a good tactic, and we should implement it in our military and all of our vehicles. If an enemy nuclear ejected, turning your homeland into a radioactive hellhole, would you execute the pilot? Leave a like. Do you think nuclear ejections could be effective and survivable? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe to get more dopamine releases from watching my funny, awesome videos about everything science, tech, gaming, movies, and any interesting nerdy shit. I'll see you in the next Nerd Punch. Oh, and let me know anything else you guys would like me to cover.
Give me some video ideas. Could be on games, movies, history, alternative history, anything. I will do